Tekken 8 Season 2 has been a roller coaster from the night they were on Tekken Talk to the troubling news that Fakuram is returning. Obviously, you can point to character changes, balancing, bugs and glitches, controversial business model, 2-1 clap, more visual clutter, Paul, Claudio, or anything else the Tekken community was talking about a little over a month ago. And even with everything that's going on, there's just one thing that no one's talking about. Every console generation, studios are looking to capitalize on the hype with flashy visuals, seemingly better gameplay, and sweat. As it concerns fighting games, there isn't such thing as a consistent schedule. When you look at Capcom, they've been on a 7-year cycle since Street Fighter 4, Tekken has been about 8 years, and Mortal Kombat is sitting at a 4-year cycle since MK9. Aside from that, we just got the first Fatal Fury game in over 20 years, and by the time Virtua Fighter 6 comes out, the gap since the first release of Virtua Fighter 5 will be just about the same. And I think it's important to realize that by the time Armor King comes out, 9th gen consoles will have been out for 5 years. And you might be thinking, okay, so what does Tekken have to do with all this? Well, apparently, according to Katsurito, don't ask me for shit Harada, he wants Tekken 9 to be a launch title for the PlayStation 6. And I'm really curious what that means for Tekken 8 because the game is barely a year old. And if we're going by a 7-year gap in home console releases, then that means we can see the 10th gen consoles by 2027. Now, I'm not sure if Harada just said this on a whim or if this is something already in pre-development talks with Bamco, but I'm wondering how this would even work. Are they going to split the team into half to start working on the new game? Or does this mean internal delays for balance patches and DLC? And likely one of the more important factors to look at is that the creative heads of this project have been working on this game for over 20 years. So obviously it begs the question, how long will the team be in charge? And to be honest, it's a heavy topic that's probably a bit too early to discuss, so let's talk about the active development of Tekken 8. To be completely honest, I think I was going to continue dooming on the game for just a little bit so YouTube could shift my algorithm into FGC content instead of my previous sub-niche. But after watching Combo Breaker this weekend, I think the Season 2 hate train has really come to a halt. The crowd was enjoying some good-ass Tekken with everybody at home, Armor King got revealed, the balance patches have been moving in the right direction, and there's obviously the underhanded comments about Claudio essentially having a gun or, giant momentum swings when somebody presses the win button. But I'd like to think we're generally moving beyond the total disappointment across the board that we had when the season first dropped. With that being said, I do still wonder what exactly is going on with the Tekken Project team. We don't exactly need explicit details about who's doing what, where, and when, but just an idea would at least help, because I'm sure they themselves were not expecting the reception they got when the new patch dropped, and that's a pretty important thing to keep in mind. Now, I'm not even going to dig into this because we don't know if this means the Katsu and Murray haven't been in the driver's seat since beta, pre-development, or just for Season 2. But the fact of the matter is whoever was previously in charge is no longer in charge. And like I said towards the end of my last video, I'm not even sure if that's really saying much because of who was in charge of Tekken 7, right? So we could very well see this game return to the level of quality that it was at in Season 1. We're all hoping for it. And from the beginning, the assignment was pretty simple. Players just didn't want things to track as viciously as they did. We just needed chip damage toned down so that blocking was not such a detriment to the neutral aspect of the game. And aside from looking at Yoshimitsu, Jin, and they kind of already got Dragunov out of there towards the end of Season 1, that was really all people wanted. But I think the fact now that we're starting to move in the right direction is kind of showing us that, okay, they took a look, they stepped back and said, we messed up, all right? And it is good to appreciate when a developer can do that. And I mean, to be honest, it's a pretty difficult task that they've taken on to try and maintain that both parties are happy with the state of the game. And even then, it's like there's more than two kinds of people who are playing the game. It's not split directly between competitive and casual. And for what it's worth, I gotta say, I'm really glad they just decided to try things out now before we got 3-4 years into the game and they dropped a patch like this, because you would have way more characters in the game to deal with. The system changes would likely be much different than the foundation of what they had in Season 1. But anyways, I digress. Bakaram and Armor King. What do you know? Well, I mean, you got to give it to the Bamco team. They knew that people were not too high on Bakaram in the first place, even though apparently the internet thinks that this dude is just super cool now after the gameplay trailer. Because right at the end of the Bakaram gameplay trailer, guess who they decided to reveal? That's correct. Another Tekken 7 character. And yeah, while it is another Tekken 7 character, he was one of the best selling characters of Tekken 7. And so you already know that between him, Anna, and these fellers right here, he was one of the more requested characters to be back in this installment of Tekken. Now, I am incredibly interested to see what they do with Armor King. He has definitely been one of my most requested characters because we're not going to be seeing this guy back in a Tekken game for forever, I'm guessing. And with that just leaves us with one last character for the Season 2 DLC lineup. Now, as the team previously discussed in the last Tekken Talk, Season 2 is going to have an all-new original character that has not been featured in a previous game before. No guest character, no returning character. Now, of course, this has got people quite interested. You know, we can speculate about who it's going to be. In my personal opinion, I think it's going to be a descendant of a requested character like Lei or Bruce or something along those lines, because that way the dev team won't have to think too hard about picking a nationality that hasn't been used yet, if that was their priority going into the conceptual development of this character. And on top of that, if they're a descendant of an existing character, then they can just use moves that already exist, or they have loads of inspiration depending on who that character is. But anyway, people of the FGC world, that is all I have for you today. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about how you think Tekken is shaping up to be in the next couple months. Do you think that Bamco has learned their lesson and they're starting to trend in an upward direction? Or will they continue doing some dumb stuff and be more of the same of what we saw a little over a month ago? Be sure to like the video, sub with the bell, and I will see you next time.